So, my journey with channeling, my whole journey began with, I guess you could say yoga was the first spiritual thing I ever did. And it was something that my stepmother suggested me to do when I was about 17, 18. There was big drama within my family. Both my parents were alcoholics. No one in my family ever got along, so at that moment it was a challenging situation, but there is a blessing in everything, and it was a major blessing for me as the craziness of my life really forced me as a very young person to realize that no one had the answers and no one could actually help me. No one had anything figured out, at least where I was in Pennsylvania. Um, so I did go to the university and I took some LSD when I turned 19. And this sent me into this state that I couldn't describe in words, but it was the most spiritual thing I ever knew. And all of these ideas that I'd been reading but been kind of skeptical about when we're talking about Buddhism or yoga just seemed that this is real and this is what I'm here to do. I traveled that summer, and then after one more semester I dropped out of university. I took a lot of medicine. I was reading channeled material from Barbara Marciniak and from some other people the 2012 idea is one thing that really came to us through that channeled state when Jose Arguelles channeled the Mayan, whatever you call it, he called his first book The Mayan Factor in 1987. And since then people were talking about 2012, and when I was exposed to that idea I wanted to come to Mexico where there was the Rainbow Gathering happening, and shamans from all across Mexico and all around the world gathering for this. I worked with ayahuasca then, and I thought my whole journey was about connecting with ayahuasca, though really I followed a van with my friends that took me initially against my own will to Lake Atitlan. Though once I got here, I was very happy about it, and I started working with cacao. And I was really strongly connected with Keith from the very beginning. I was like, this is what I'm here to do. And Keith really found his wisdom through a channeling group. What he teaches all is based on channeled materials. And so when I started a couple years later sharing cacao ceremonies, the kind of basis of knowledge that I was using to hold the spaces and share with people was coming from that foundation of what was channeled from his teachers and the teachers that he resonates with now, or Bashar and Abraham. And the first time that I vocal channeled, I wasn't really expecting it. I wasn't really asking for it. I was trained as a Reiki master before I even went on this journey. And I later did another modality called integrated energy therapy that works with channeling angel energies. And when I was certified to teach this modality and did more attunements and more practice with it, continuously connecting with the angels every time, just holding that intention, okay, visualize this, bring the angel codes in. I started to hear voices in my head that were not, first it sounded like my own thoughts, just saying like, you are loved, we love you, everything is well, everything is going to be okay, whatever, and it got more complex, and I realized that it was these angels speaking to me. And I, one time, just after doing a lot of work, set aside time to do a ceremony for myself. Took some chocolate and mushrooms and made a lot of prayers, wrote a lot, set my intentions. And after kind of singing and meditating for a while, I heard the voice again, and the voice told me to go to a mirror. And I was like, why do I go to a mirror? And I just listened to the voice, and now the voice said, now start saying what I'm saying to you. And I did, and the voice was like, hello, we're here, I don't know if it said that. We are Archangel Raziel, and we are here to serve this purpose and connection with you. And I was like, oh wow, this is very deep, this is very special for me. I didn't fully believe it in a way. Um, though I went a couple weeks later to Mount Shasta, where I was doing some work with just ceremonies with my friends and hanging out, preparing for this blood moon eclipse that was visible from that area. And I asked them if they wanted to hear me channel. I never did it before. And again, I thought I was making it up the whole time, but I came out of the whatever state I went into in channeling, and they were just moved and said that they had never experienced anything like that before. So I kind of forgot about it for a while. I went to trim weeds, so I was listening to the angels talk to me while I was like, why am I here? Like, get me out of this place. And yeah, I went into a period of kind of reclusion after that for a while, and really like my vision and all of these things opened in a really profound way. And it overwhelmed me a lot at first. I then learned that I could actually like say to these beings like, okay, like I only want so much, like too much of this I can't handle. Can we make this a little bit easier for my body? And I went to a dance channeling class that was about channeling through movement. And after this class, it's where I met Matthew actually. Anyway, after this class, the last day, a different voice came to me. And this voice said it wanted to speak and that it was an extraterrestrial consciousness. And this is the first time that the beings that I worked with really made themselves available in that way. And it was, again, another like 6 months until I was really ready to start sharing it more publicly. And once I did, like, magic really kept happening again and again and again. And it took me a while to like actually own it. I'm always on the fence about what happens as well, because as you'll experience in attempting the channel, it's very subtle, and there's a lot of ways that the human ego can interfere. So I was always kind of like, is this really happening? Though when I went to the yoga of Sun and Chakra, and you were there, I really allowed that to step forth because it felt really safe, and people had it really deepened people's experiences there. And from the time that I came back from that experience, it was like coming back to San Marcos. My life was full and jam-packed with sessions and things to do, and it really carried me on a strong wave. And in a way, it's very rewarding. In a way, it still feels a little weird. In a way, it's energizing. In another sense, it's exhausting. Your body goes through a lot of kind of symptoms of spiritual emergence, you could say, as the channeling begins to happen. Some channels like Barbara Marciniak, who at this point I don't recommend her, but she said when she first started channeling, she had this like full Kundalini experience and her spine hurt a lot. I had experiences where my neck began to hurt a lot, as this is our channeling chakra in the back of the neck. It's actually a separate chakra in the channeling in most systems that talk about the chakras. You could kind of conceive of it as like the back of your third eye or the back of your throat, kind of like if these two chakras are combined, this is the back side of them. And some have said it's where the spirit speaks. It's really where the spine and the skull meet. So our brain is like this receptor, it's like an antenna, and thought is a sense. Energy forms are all made of thought, and when I say thought, take this moment to really break your idea of what thought is. So thought is not words. Words are manifestations of thought. And the words that come through in a channeling are like a translation of this wave of thought that comes from another level of yourself that appears outside, though the ultimate truth is that all is one. So the beings that will come to you are other levels of your own soul. Some are angels, some are your past or previous lifetimes or future lifetimes, though they're just another level of you. And they transmit to you these waves of thought that come first as this sense of a knowing and a feeling, and you can allow that to translate into words in your own language or in a language that you have mastered. A good friend of mine is named Witika. She channels Arjun of the Yao. She's Dutch, and she can channel in both English and Dutch, and occasionally German. She goes to Germany sometimes and channels for German groups, and there's a translator translating from English into German, but sometimes the beings that she channels will add on an extra word after the translation. So, the channeled beings have to work with your own knowledge base. So what you know and your own vocabulary and everything like this is just slightly like switched to another level to just give, in a sense, that permission slip for you to see it's not the conscious person that's normally speaking through you. Your brain, when you go into a channeling state, goes into this frequency called gamma. So in deep meditation, we go through different stages that are alpha, then to beta, which is more concentrated, then to gamma. No, not gamma. Gamma is the higher one. Theta. And theta is where a lot of vision work is done. A lot of dream work is done. It's a certain level of meditation. The deepest level of meditation is delta. And this is like a complete and total trance. It's like waking sleep. Delta is also where you go when you sleep. So channeling is like taking the brainwave and doing the reverse. It's making it go more up rather than making it slow down. So it's actually a more concentrated, more present state than the state you would be in when you're in meditation or relaxation. So we go into this gamma frequency really all the time, without consciously knowing it, whenever we're doing something that is like a complete flow. So artists, athletes, performers usually go into gamma when they're on stage or when they're doing athletic work. Even through yoga or something like this, you can go into a gamma state. And it's really like when something is moving through you. It's like it doesn't feel like you're doing anything at all. It's just happening automatically. And even now, like I'm feeling like just in teaching, like my brain's starting to go into this state. It's in a way channeling as well. I'm not letting anything other than me and my higher self come through. But whenever you come into this like state of teaching or holding space for groups, you'll probably find yourself going into this brainwave frequency. And in that state, there's more connections that take place within the brain, and these beings can come through and make contact with us. For me, when I channel, I basically just invite the Pleiadians to come. That's a weird way of saying it because they are always there. They're never not there. I just ask them if I have permission essentially to make connection with them. And I get the first couple of words. Sometimes, especially at first, they would tell me a lot. And they would be like, okay, now focus in a certain part of your body. Breathe deeper. Bring energy to a certain place. Wait for it. Okay, now you're ready. You can begin. And say these words first. And after those first couple of words, most of it comes through, in a sense, automatically. When you first start to learn it, maybe like you get one sentence, then you wait a little bit, then you get another sentence, then you wait a little bit. It's different for everybody how it unfolds. And it's very energizing. It feels like a free high in a way. And though in a way, like sometimes when I'm channeling, it becomes kind of painful. Like my body starts to hurt because it's like bringing a lot of energy through. People have said that, people who do energy healing say like, oh, like they're also like, I'm getting a lot of good information, but I also feel like I'm getting a free energy clearing as they're doing this. Because in the group when we channel, like everybody is making contact with these beings, and just bringing yourself into that state of consciousness, your whole chakra system starts to realign. So in the same way, things in your body might start to flare up when you start to channel. You might feel pain in certain places, just like when you raise your vibration. Those places where there's not alignment get more activated. And so, yeah, it's good to kind of be mindful, especially at first, of the needs of your own body when you're starting to channel. And one of the most important things is just that your body is grounded. So basic grounding, good food, really adequate hydration. You can't channel if you're not really hydrated, and breathing deeply. So I really encourage you, if you take channeling up, to also take up pranayama, so that your whole energy system is more able to kind of get to that state easier. And before I channel, I always take a lot of deep breaths, and you'll hear people like Bashar, before they start to channel, always take these really deep breaths in and out, and that helps us get more into that state. So yeah, well, let's open up the questions. Good food, like what your body wants. Everyone's body is different, but organic if possible, and what you feel your body really wants. Questions? Yeah, let's open it up to questions before we'll start a channeling session.
When I've had experiences with channeling before, it's been in deep, like for instance in the temple day that we did, within deep meditation, deep sound, and it's always come through purely as sound, and not as like a message or guidance. And I've only ever felt it as this kind of raw sound, which seems to me to be of like a healing property.
Totally.
So would you say that for me, that would be how I would want to channel, or is it possible to extend that?
Yeah.
Or is there kind of like, like talents, for instance, like our human talents, is it similar in channeling in that is what I should be concentrating on, that is what fits with, that's how it's naturally come through for me? Or is it something that you can learn to
You can
expand?
broaden that however you want, and I think that in these times we're all like coming to a more multifaceted kind of approach to everything. So yeah, sound is channeling, doing energy healing is channeling, and they build on each other. So that could just be like, I would consider that sound is the door for you, and then there could be more things that come as you keep walking once you step through the door. And sound, the Pleiadians say that in their world they don't have words. They only communicate through sound and telepathy. So they have sounds that represent the names for people, but they don't think of it in the same way as a name. And they gave a sound Ane, that is like how I can connect with them if I use that as like a mantra, as like a tone, or if a group uses that as a tone, that sound opens a connection to them. And a lot of Pleiadian channels have kind of similar things, that they give a sound that can be for us their name, but they make it clear that they don't really have names.
I think it has made it easier for me to distinguish, because it's not in a language, and it's, like you were saying, our ego can attach ourselves, or it's hard to, it kind of has its own filter because it's purely sound. And I think that's where my worry or my reservation has been to share anything else that I would have received, is that it becomes something, like you say, in your voice, in your mind, head. And how do we begin to distinguish the difference?
Between the voices in your head?
No, yeah, yeah. How,
Yeah.
like, is there a key in for you distinguishing, like you were saying, it's easy for our ego to attach, and is there something that, before we begin, we should...
Yeah, we're gonna work a lot with that too.
Okay.
Though for me, it's like I can send a thought and then receive a thought. So when I have I have dialogues with them a lot. I'm just like, okay, guys, how's it going? And then I hear a thought and response.
Wow.
And that when that occurs, it's like I feel an energy start to happen, and it's very clear to me, like the thoughts that I'm thinking, like I'm asking questions and then I'm hearing a response, and yeah, I would say that in that in that sense, like on this journey, they haven't always given me really clear answers. Sometimes they make it clear that they can't like tell me what to do. They can only tell me how to do what I want to do and how to figure out what I want. And they encourage me to do anything that's like making my heart like, yes, yes, more of that. And sometimes like following that guidance doesn't actually lead me somewhere easy. They do help me out of it, but yeah. So it's a very subtle distinguishment, but you will learn how to like notice the difference between which thoughts are your kind of human mind and which thoughts are your higher mind. The biggest key is in like feeling. Does that feel like bigger? Does that feel like your crown is buzzing? Does it feel like your heart is opening when you listen to that thought, when you believe that thought?
Cool.
So I think that I've channeled when I've been tripping on chocolate mushrooms or on acid, but not normally in the straighter moments. So could that be so?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it feels like it. Yeah, so, yeah. I was just going to ask, would it be inappropriate to microdose the chocolate at our sessions?
Yes, that's fine.
That would be appropriate? Thank you.
That's okay.
Excellent.
As long as it's okay for everybody else. It is an energy that's palpable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's micros.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, you mean with us?
Well, no, I just meant I would
She's gonna take a little
imbibe a little
take a
chocolate
little bit of
mushroom
mushroom.
of my.
Yeah.
I have them for sale though, but if anybody
That's not
wants
what
to.
this is.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that it would be helpful for channeling, maybe.
Yeah, that might help you.
Okay.
And that's totally fine for me.
Thank you.
So, my sense of how this group will work is that there will be channeling sessions with the Pleiadians, and that you can ask them your questions about channeling, and they understand the intention of this group, so they will be doing transmissions that are kind of designed to take us to that place. And hopefully, maybe today or maybe tomorrow, we'll start having opportunities where you can start channeling as, like, we'll both be channeling at the same time. You can kind of start to speak what your guides are saying, or what the beings that are coming for you are saying during the session in this way. And in this group expanded bigger than I thought it would, so I just wanted to add on to your participation in this class, like say like half hour, 45-minute session with me one-to-one, where we can kind of after the end of the class, where we can kind of practice again what's been learning, what we've been doing, because one of the reasons I wanted to keep it small is because I wanted everybody to have the experience of channeling during the class. So we will do that each and every one of us during the class, and then again at some other point afterwards.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. How's everybody feeling? So,
Thank you.
um, this day is beginning. This class is beginning on a day in the Mayan calendar that is the yellow resonant star. So, are you guys familiar with the dream spell calendar?
Yes.
So this was a channeled calendar from Jose Arguelles that uses the old Mayan system and kind of rearranges it with this numerological formula that he channeled. And every day is, it's very much like the Mayan calendar around here, 13 vibrations and 20 energies. And then there's a little cone that goes along with the day. And the cone for this day is I channel in order to beautify.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's neat.
I channel in order to beautify. Inspiring art. I seal the store of elegance with the resonant tone of attunement. I am guided by the power of universal fire. And so this is the kind of cone that governs the whole channeling class as well as we started on this day. And it's quite beautiful. One thing that comes as we start the channel is that everything is perfectly synchronized. Like Andrea said, even like our meeting was always synchronized at the very right place at the very right time. And part of the idea of the law of time in this dream spell calendar is that time is art. And that when we find this kind of connection with the noosphere is how they describe it in the law of time. The noosphere is this collective consciousness of the earth and of humanity, and that the law of time, as well as all channel materials, essentially bring us to connect our lower self with that noosphere, with the greater collective consciousness. And as we do so, everything that happens is just divinely synchronized. I channel in order to beautify, so may this be something very artful, I guess. It's the star. It's funny, I think, just it's a day about channeling. And the star energy is perfect because I channel beings from the stars.
Can I just share something else that
Yeah.
is related and so cool? Today, I'm going to perform aerial for the first time at the Eagle's Nest after my first channeling class ever. And just everything you just said is like,
Yeah.
I channel in order to beautify, and then you said something, and then it was related to art.
Yeah.
And so it feels really good to me,
Yeah.
because I kind of knew it all just happened. It wasn't like planned, and then suddenly I'm like, oh, now I'm going to go perform. I haven't practiced at all, but I'm channeling first, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be great.
So good. Today is also the 13
Wind.
Wind.
13
Eek.
wind.
So in the local calendar, 13, like 13 is the highest vibration. It's kind of when the bridge between earth world and spirit world. And Eek, we're in the Eek year, and the wind is all about communication. So that's also with us today.
What did you say the Eek year?
We're in 5 Eek.
From in the other one? In the dreams?
No, in the Guatemalan Mayan calendar, we're in the year 5 Eek.
Because the beginning of the year started with 8.
Well, the beginning of the Mayan year is,
Oh, what date?
usually it's in February or January.
Okay.
And there's 5 days out of time called the Wayab, and then the new year begins on a certain day.
Okay.
I don't know how exactly they figure it out, but
I think you're right, and I saw
Yeah.
that like the end of January or the beginning of February. Cool. Thank
yeah.
And the shirt that my mom is wearing comes from Amrak, who's a local Mayan timekeeper shaman woman who's amazing, and it's been in a million ceremonies.
She's pretty cool.
Yeah, So we have Amrat's vibration with us here today.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions or things they would like to share? We're going to begin the first channeling session.